Hey Gemini. So it's funny because during Sagittarius reading there was a lot going on in the background, but there was a lot of like steady groundedness up front. And now the work is now pretty much done, and it was really loud, so I couldn't do yours or else you guys would not hear it. But I thought I should tell you that because it could be how your mind is feeling. We're going to start up there. It needs quiet right now, or clarity, or you want to wake up with quiet. You need, like, there's just things that you need to do. With Mars being in Gemini, a lot of people want to say a lot of things. There's a lot of work being done, maybe some construction. This was some pavement, so smoothing out. And what you need is to give yourself that time. And you need to tell everyone in your life that you need to give yourself that time. If they don't get it, just do it. Don't explain yourself. Because you'll clearly need to see what something, you clearly need to see something important that maybe you don't realize about how when you accept a certain kind of offer, you, maybe someone that looks good, talks good, you get like persuaded by the aesthetic more than you think. And you're in this point where that has now made you realize that's not what you want anymore, and you're being very clear about it. You're maybe going into some solitude because you want to celebrate, but you want to celebrate intimately. It's about those who are committed to you, those mutual connections. You may start off the month with more noise or more people, and then you may enter a time where you don't want that as much. You realize certain things about your personality, and maybe those people or the situation around you could be work as well, and then you realize it's just not what you want to be held down to. You're seeing your values differently. You're feeling like maybe this real fulfillment, a little more ease. Maybe that is what I want. And you're learning to be a little bit more stubborn with that, a little bit more cautious, but you need to remember that it's not going to keep you stuck in the past. And if it does bring you back to the past, there may be triggering something for a reason. Triggers are for us, and even though they're hard sometimes, you may find a few different ones come up this month, especially like right to your mind. It's just like, boom, that's it, boom, that's it. And it because you've chosen to not feed into the overstimulus this month, you're going to get yourself out of a lot of situations, because there will be many situations this month. Again, it doesn't have to be like you out and about. It could just be through text or call. It's just situations where your response is really important. How you choose to leave this time in your life behind, you're thinking about more. You're realizing how you're growing in the sense where you're not responding the way you used to, or you're not overcommitting to the way you used to, or you're wanting to spend your time with different people. It's interesting because Leo's going through something similar, and that's down here in this section, so we're gonna go to that. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Next. So, intuitively being guided, but having it make sense. Commitment to where it's important to be stubborn, which is your values right now, and like what you're making sense of them, is more important than people or fun, quote unquote fun. It's really actually important for you to feel like good about being responsible for these things more than ever. And Leo feels that shift in a certain way, but it's not necessarily the same. It's possible that during last month, you were delivered something that really hurt you and something you didn't think was. You didn't see this coming. And it was so smooth in its transition. It was you, the end of this era, or this notion that you can't still rebuild yourself or still change things as you need, or change your beliefs as you need. And at first it may not feel as great, or it didn't feel that great. And now you're finding the energy behind it all. You're realizing what wasn't working before. You're realizing why Leo season is necessary more than ever. It's not that you didn't have some fun, but now leaving it there, it's even easier. Now in Virgo season, you can pick up this energy of, this is kind of you put together. It's you have belief in something, but you're also having fun doing it. You're realizing that these things can go hand in hand, even if you're extreme about it. How those are very much that's in your zone right now. And that's what's giving you energy to do the work that you're doing. Because by next year, all of those swords and where you're going with them, or wands and where you're going with them, will be shown the light as well. And it'll be through avenues that maybe were unexpected to others, but people who really know you understand. Like, really know you. And that's like what is all up here. Even if it's a lot of people, there's still some people that you thought or you knew who don't see the intentions now, I guess. And something that you may be going through is this trusting when something feels off inside of you, or you feel disconnected. Maybe the feeling, you feel more cold, perhaps even the temperature. You realize there's something that you need to see and address. That whether it's you just feeling more comfortable in your emotions, that you're feeling or in your body even, that you're feeling like signals hitting you, or then you can address things as you need to, and you may not feel overwhelmed by the amount that your energy needs to stretch. There's a strong Taurian energy as well. Just feel very capable of producing and making things more, giving your energy in a way that whatever you're learning here and whatever's being moved through you at this time is for a reason. You may need to talk about all of these different seasons that you've been feeling, or all these feelings that you've been feeling, because regardless if this is something and not really your forte, the way that you present it now is like, I understand I have a lot going on, and there's so much goodness around me, and there's so much I get to share in terms of your maybe abundance of resources and energy, and maybe some of you are very fertile, so whatever's going on in your life just keeps growing, or you could be having a child. Either way, it's about giving your energy away without attachment to it, but still learning to speak up about those things that you've been through before, how that boundary can be crossed, how that line can be crossed. And you may find it much easier right now to do so, or even just a process with yourself first. And that's like I think always the main key. That's a lot of cards. Whatever you may get up in your head about, or that song that's constantly on repeat and then you make reference of it, or something that continuously is repetitive and that brings you to this place of you're in your head too much, where you need to just let the energy out no matter what, or you're feeling stuck, like you feel like you're moving around but your head is stuck in this one place. It just needs to be addressed. Your mind is still a part of your body, and again, the more that you address this, the more that you realize how much you have to share, and feeling, maybe even realizing through that, you feel really grateful. You may end some battles in your mind or in yourself. Mars may bring you to the conversation, but it also might leave you feeling more capable, strong, and confident into where you're going next. And look at, it's so golden. This is one thing you're great at, is that you finally get to that point where whatever needed to be communicated to you was finally got there. Whether, because you can hear something over and over again, but it doesn't hit you, or it hits you differently at different times in your life, or it's something you totally missed before and then it hits you again as you get older, or at a different time where your energy field is ready for it. And all this information you may be receiving, even this communication between your body and yourself through the people closest to you, through how you interact with this time in your life, will show you everything maybe you need to know about the months ahead. You have a lot of space to see many different versions of your life change, but you also have the magnitude to draw it towards yourself as well. It's this perfect marriage, and if you allow yourself to get there this month, or if you give yourself that freedom of that path, you'll get there, and you'll get there through, again, you come to the end, and it's very spiritual, through the side of yourself that is, breaking through. It's probably somewhere that has maybe even felt like stuck or like ice inside of you, and all of a sudden you feel warmer in that area, you feel lighter in that area, you feel more exposed, but it's exposing the best parts about you and how much you deserve being where you are. And rest assured, this is changing your life in a way where you're receiving so much benefit by just being able to process and communicate. That your heart's always in the right place, but when you can do it even more effectively, it changes your life for the better. And again, you may draw certain people or a certain person, a certain goal you had in mind right to you, and maybe that was the goal and it's there, and maybe it's with a Sagittarius, or a Sagittarius might be in your life, and they might have gone through a drastic change recently, and they're maybe saying something to you that makes sense to you now, and maybe they've said it before, but you've heard it before, but it's making more sense to you now than it ever has. You could also be offering them or saying something to them that makes them give you the advice as well, not just nonchalantly. It could be a very intentional place. And what you're realizing is your capacity, how wide and vast your capacity is for all the tastes of life. And also it's not that you're focusing your vision. It's like you have a vision, it's out there, but it's still a little blurry to you. And it's now like you've given yourself enough room and space here emotionally to let yourself walk away from that and focus yourself towards something that makes sense for you. You're tying a lot together. Ooh, all right. And what that is Virgo season is a seasoning for you. And it's letting things look a little upside down for a moment. That the light is shining, that you feel like you should be relaxed, you feel like you should be letting go, but it feels a little obscure. It feels like something you've done before, but now this is in a place where you're confident, but it's moving so fast. And you're almost afraid to be overly confident about it, because you know how much that may have hurt you in the past. And now it becomes much more clear how that even brings you to a steady grounding, because you go through that. You don't stop there. You go through that thought. You go through that process. You go through that feeling where you find that, no, this is what's supposed to happen. You trust it. you trust what's happening and you go with it. And because you trust what's happening and you're not just going off of your ego being boosted or seeing who's noticing or all the different things that people assume how people feel when they're in the spotlight, but you're just like letting it all fall together. You're letting it come into place in a way where you may not realize it as it's happening until it's happening, and all of a sudden you even have an emotional response to it. You may have a very heartfelt connection to what's going on in a way that hits you with a surprise, because it even could have been due to someone, maybe something last year in Virgo season, or even a Virgo in your life, perhaps. Maybe something got brought to your attention during Aries season, and ever since then you've kind of been racking your brain about how maybe you missed it or you couldn't see it for what it was, and then all of a sudden things are revealed. You're like, Virgo season, you're so dramatically to the point, ouch. But you realize how much it's worth it, because whatever is shifting is for your benefit and your benefit only. Why is that important? Because you know how much you give. You know how much stopped you. You know the certain places where you've been stubborn and told not to be, but then you twist and turn those spaces and you become very, very talented and skilled, which is not something that has to happen. And very authentic to where you're going. And you have more guidance to where you're going. You realize that you're actually guided and you don't have to do too much. And the more that you stay very focused on that, everything kind of turns out the way it's supposed to. And I think by around in February of next year, you may have realized this like in a very sharp way last month, but by February of next year, it may be like the knob, like the volume all the way up. You're only being guided, and that's it. And the more that you release to that, especially in times when you're unsure, you don't know, you're in the dark, you've never done this before, or never gotten here with a specific thing before, and all of a sudden it's starting to fastly shift. But it's important to remain grounded, and that's where you find your grounding. That's where you find your focus. All right, Gemini, see you next month.